Hi everyone, my name is Porrick Carroll and I'm a product specialist based here in EMEA. I'm really excited for the next 20 minutes where we help you drive quality leads with a focus on offline conversion tracking. In my role as a product specialist, I get to work with hundreds of agencies who are in the exact same place as you are. You're looking to drive the right results for your advertisers and help them grow their businesses. In this session, we're going to double click into a really exciting product Google has called offline conversion tracking. I'm also delighted I'm going to be joined by my colleague Corinne, who I've worked on multiple accounts with, and she's seen fantastic results with her agencies who've implemented this product. So what are we going to cover today? Well, first we're going to give you a bird's eye view on offline conversion tracking. How does this product work? Then we're going to deep dive in terms of how you can collaborate with your clients to get this up and running in their accounts. And then the really exciting bit, once you have this data, how can you use it? Well, there's a couple of really interesting strategies that you can roll out once you have this data in the account. You can report on metrics that matter to your business and then optimize to true business results. This is how you bring the secret sauce of your client's data into your account. But don't just take my word on it. We've done extensive research into this area with one of our partners, BCG. What we discovered by looking at thousands of different advertisers is that when you're able to effectively bring data into your marketing channels, you can drive incredible results. Whether it's an increase in revenue or an increase in the cost efficiency on your media spend, it becomes a win-win for everyone. You drive the right results for your clients, and they're able to invest more in the media partners that make sense.
Hello everybody, my name is Karina and I work on the Norwegian agency team. I'm super excited to be here today to talk to you about offline conversion tracking. I've actually had this discussion quite a lot with my clients and agencies over the last year or so. And I actually believe that it delivers a lot of value add both from the agency and the client perspective. Let's get started with a quick introduction. Firstly, I would like to kick off with just giving you a little bit of the basics of how offline conversion tracking works. First of all, Google applies a unique click ID, a gCLID, to every ad click once you have enabled auto tagging in your account. Then, when a user fills out a lead form or similar, the gCLID is passed along with all the other user data to your CRM system. After the lead has been converted or qualified, you can import the gCLID corresponding to that final sale back into Google Ads for optimization. Next, let's have a look into how you can actually start to implement offline conversion tracking and what's involved in that. Porrick is going to deep dive a little bit more into this section later, but I want to give you a little bit of a sneak peek into the OCT implementation process. So, step 1 is really owned by you, the Google Ads Manager. Step number 2 and 3, you need to activate other stakeholders such as the CRM manager and the web developers. For step 4, you all come together in order to ensure the successful upload of offline data to your Google Ads account. So OCT really requires these 3 different types of stakeholders in order to be successfully implemented. And with everything else, I would say preparation is key. So I'm going to give you a few tips and tricks in order to facilitate this OCT discussion with your clients. On the slide, you will find about 8 tips in order to make sure that you have done the correct preparation before starting the OCT process. However, from experience, I would like to give you a little bit of a hint that 2 of these I think are especially valuable in order to ensure a successful implementation. Number 1 would be do your research. Really deep dive into your client's business model and the lead to sale journey for the client. And number 2, make sure that all the correct decision makers are in the room from the start. This is actually one of the main problems that we see when implementing conversion tracking. So it's super important to have all the right people involved. Now, Porrick is going to give you a bit more detailed information of how OCT can be implemented.
Thanks for that, Corinne. Now we have an understanding of how offline conversion tracking works. What we're going to cover off now is how you can get this set up. Now, disclaimer, you're going to have to work with your colleagues here, but you should be able to do this in a really streamlined and effective manner. In this next section, I'm going to talk you through the 4 relatively simple steps that you can take to get offline conversion tracking set up. But we're not going to just stop there. We're going to guide you through the most common pitfalls so you go from being an amateur in terms of getting this set up to one of the professionals. We'll also talk about how you can then leverage that data to drive the right results. So what's the first step? Well, it's in your control. The first step is to create new conversion actions in your account. You're going to have to identify what conversion you want to bring into the account. Once you've identified this, you will set up a new conversion action and select import. Once you've selected import, you're going to select the conversion source to be import from clicks. What this really is saying to the system is that we want to bring in data that doesn't exist in an online world. Once you have done that, one quick reminder. We don't want you to include this conversions in the conversion column just yet. If we include the conversions in the conversion column, our smart bidding algorithm will start using it to optimize. While we do want to get there, we don't want to do it just straight away. We want to make sure that we're doing this in a controlled, safe manner. Now this is where collaboration kicks in. You're going to have to modify your website so we can capture that Gclid that Corinne mentioned before. The Gclid is essentially a way for us to identify the user once they move from the online world and into your CRM system. This step can be easily done. What we need you to do is to create a hidden form or field on the lead form submission page. From here, we need to place a tiny piece of JavaScript onto the website. The pro tip here is you can do this by utilizing the Google Tag Manager. Once someone has submitted the form, what this JavaScript will do is capture that data so that we can pass it back into the CRM system. Really easy to do if you're a web developer, and we'll pass on documentation on this in our key resources as well. Once we've captured the Gclid and we now know who this user is going to be once they go to an offline world, we have to make sure that our CRM system can hold that information. Now there's a couple of ways that we can do it. If you're using a marketing automation platform such as HubSpot or Marketio, they will relatively easily allow you to set up a field so we can place that Gclid in. If you're using your own homebrew system, it's slightly more complicated, but not too hard. You just have to make sure that the post is sending a request form through and ensure that the data is being captured in a meaningful way, and ensure that our CRM system has modified its data structures in order to get set up. If this sounds like it's incredibly complicated, don't worry. There's a whole host of different third-party providers that can help you get this set up. The most important thing to remember though is we want to get the Gclid captured and brought into our CRM system so that when our sales teams and marketing teams start working with this data, we can leverage it in a meaningful way. So once you have this information in your CRM system, we want to keep uploading it into Google Ads. This information is incredibly powerful when it's updated on a regular basis. Now there's 5 ways that you can look to upload data into your account, and they range from the very manual to the incredibly automated. Your bread and butter approach is just to upload the data from a Google Sheet or an Excel file and include the information that you want into the Google Ads account. As you get more sophisticated, you may want to schedule these uploads. So once a week, that these changes in the conversions will be brought into your account. You may even want to schedule an API upload, which becomes really interesting when you want to upload conversions once they've progressed through the lead to sale journey. Let's stop there for a moment. Imagine you have sent leads to your sales team, and one of your sales team closes a huge account. By using the API, we can schedule an upload once that salesperson has changed the status of that lead. We can also look to use middleware partners such as Zapier. What Zapier allows you to do is to pass that data from your CRM system to your Google Ads account without doing any coding. It means that you don't have to fiddle around with the API or set up the scheduling. They'll take care of it for you. And for those of you who are working with the likes of HubSpot and Salesforce, They have automated the upload of this in conjunction with Google. And now let's look at a case study in which a company was able to use offline conversion tracking to improve their business results. Fat Merchant are a leading provider of payment systems, and they face some of the challenges that you may be facing. First, they had a real challenge understanding which leads were of a high quality. And second, they didn't want to spend a huge amount of their dev time uploading offline conversion into their account. So what was their approach? Well, first, they set up offline conversion tracking, and between them, the marketing team, and their CRM team, they determined which leads actually were of value to them. The leads that were most important for this particular customer were sales qualified leads. They were working in a B2B space, and it's important that when their sales teams were working with the leads that were driven from digital channels, that they were able to actually get in contact with these customers. Second, they knew that their dev team was swamped. They had a huge amount of resources that need to be put in place to drive the business forward. They decided to work with Zapier in order to automate the upload of data into their account. And so what was the results? Well, once they got offline conversion tracking in place and they were able to see which leads actually led to sales results, they started using target CPA against this data. This data then was automatically put into their account, and the results really speak for themselves. Through this very simple integration and partnership with Zapier, they were able to increase the number of sales qualified leads by 50% and reduce the amount of time the dev team were spending on scheduling this data into the account by 3.5 hours. The result? A happy customer, a delighted dev team, and a marketing team that added significant value to the whole account. Now, those are the 4 easy steps in terms of getting OCT set up and bringing that data into your account. But I said I didn't want you just to know how to do OCT. I wanted you to be pros on this. Now, we've worked with our GTech partners to identify the 4 key problems that they see when advertisers are initially trying to get offline conversion tracking set up. The first is around the conversion date, where the conversion date precedes the click date. This can often happen where there's a difference in time zone in your Google Ads account versus your CRM system. The other most common complaint and challenge that we see is when we're trying to pass in conversions that are over 90 days long. Simply put, our system can't accept those. They've passed their sell-by date, and so they will be immediately rejected before they can come into the Google Ads account. In other times, we see marketers who are so excited by this, they don't give it enough time to allow them to register in the Google Ads account. Once you've initially uploaded that data into your account, please wait 4 to 6 hours to be able to see those conversions registering in your account. Also, when we're passing this offline data into the account, we want to make sure that we're looking at the right data. Use the conversions by conversion time in your columns report to see these registered so that we're comparing apples to apples. So there we are. You know what you have to do. You've got power in your own control in terms of getting this set up in your Google Ads account. You'll have to work with your CRM or your web dev team to capture this data and store it in the CRM system. And then you'll have to come back together in order to upload this data on a regular basis. I'm going to now pass it over to Corinne, who's going to talk about how you can leverage this data to drive the right results for your business.
Thank you, Porrick, for deep diving a little bit more into the OCT implementation process. Now, let me start talking a little bit more about leveraging offline data to improve lead quality. If you ask me, this is where the real fun can begin. So let's have a look at it together. So here you find 4 different scenarios of how you can use custom columns that are the most effective way to see what campaigns, what keywords, and what ads are driving the most valuable traffic to the website of your client. I would like to point out 2 examples here that I think can be useful for you guys to learn a bit more about. So in the first scenario here, we are just looking at the amount of conversions using a target CPA. So here in the first column, On the left-hand side, we have used OCT to determine which leads have been qualified. So these leads have passed a credit check in the system, and that information has been passed back to Google Ads. The CPA is calculated by dividing the total cost of the lead by the number of qualified leads. Then, if you are working with more advanced clients, it could be good to look even further more into the ROI and profit sphere, or even including profit margins into the custom columns. So in the last example here, you can apply an average profit margin to your custom column in order to see which campaigns are driving the most profit for the client. I bet that this is a super interesting insight for most clients to have. So in this instance, we have used the following calculation in order to find profit. So we calculate closed sales by the conversion value and then multiply it with the profit margin. In this example, we have used 20%. I also quickly want to note that we don't actually recommend that you include offline data into the conversion columns straight away. The best way here would be to leave it for about 1 to 3 weeks, make sure that the data accumulates correctly, that the time lag is taken into consideration. And for this way, you can also have some time back to learn and really deep dive into the data that is provided by offline conversion tracking. On the next slide, let me show you a little bit of an example of what this can look like. So in this example, we would like to show you how offline conversion tracking can actually add an additional layer of data to your reporting and show you the Google Ads reporting through a more marketing-focused lens. So in the example, without offline conversion tracking, we actually only knew how many students that were enrolled by each of the campaigns. Now we can also know the amount of revenue, the ROI, and the profit that is driven by each of the campaigns. Custom columns really empowers you to actually align the reporting with the marketing objective of the clients. And we also find common mistakes. For example, we see that sometimes campaigns that are limited by budget are actually the ones that are driving the most valuable traffic. In the next step, I would like to show you a little bit more about how you can use smart bidding and offline conversion tracking together. Here you see an overview over different online and offline conversion tracking possibilities. You're probably familiar with a lot of them. I would like to leave you with one note. To get the best performance out of Google Ads, you should identify the action that is closest to where the value is generated at your client's business. Or in other words, try to measure as far down the funnel as you can go. However, with regards to smart bidding, there is a few things that you should keep in mind. Number one is volumes. Smart bidding works best if there is about 15 conversions per month per conversion action. Then, secondly, it's also important to take into consideration time lag. So smart bidding can't actually work with conversions that are longer than 90 days ago. In fact, smart bidding works best with conversion cycles that take about 2 to 3 weeks. So you might be already thinking, which conversion action or which smart bidding should I implement for my clients? So I'll show you a few different smart bidding strategies that you probably know really well that are quite good to know when implementing smart bidding with offline conversion tracking. Here you see 4 different smart bidding strategies that you probably already know from your online marketing expertise. However, what is important when implementing these strategies together with offline conversion tracking is that you really try to align the choice of the bidding strategy with the client's marketing objective. Now you might be thinking, how do I actually implement this? What is the important thing to keep in mind? I would say that you should probably leave about 1 to 3 weeks just with the offline conversion data left in Google Ads on a reporting basis. Then you can add offline conversion data to the conversion column and opt into the correct smart bidding strategy. From here, smart bidding needs about 3 to 4 weeks to ramp up. That concludes today's session. Thank you so much for listening in. I just want to point out that we have a few additional resources on the top that you can have a look at, and there will also be a survey on the right-hand side. Please take some time to fill it out. We use all the data and information from you guys in order to create new cool content that is useful to you guys. Again, thank you so much for your time and have a great rest of the week.